of the I am a recent graduate of the BA in English language teaching here in Sinaloa. I just graduated this July while studying the BA. They gave us the opportunity, they gave us a scholarship actually to study the CELTA course. So while doing that, while studying my BA, I started studying the CELTA course. And I have been teaching for 2.5 years almost. I'm 22 years old, so I started teaching when I was like around 19. And what else? Yeah, I'm currently working in a school called ESL in the afternoons. The teacher right here is the principal of that school. And I'm also working in a private school with middle schoolers, ages 13 to 15. So, well, as you can see, I do not like to sleep that much, right? So when teacher told me, do you want to present? Sure, let's do it. So today I'm just gonna show you some activities that I like to use in the classroom. And well, I'm going to get started. Hope you enjoy it. Okay. So my talk is called Keeping It Structured, but Keeping It Fun. Okay. So, well, of course, we're teachers. We have to have a structure in class. But most of the times we cannot expect our students to be that excited when we're doing the exact same thing every day. Maybe not the exact same thing, but every week they know what to expect, right? So one of the things that I had most difficulty with when I first started teaching was lesson planning. Please raise your hand if this was your problem when you started, that you've had problems, or it's still your problem to lesson plan. Raise your hand either virtually or physically. Okay, thank you. So I'm glad to know we're all in the same boat. So when I first started teaching, my thought process was, oh my God, what am I going to teach? How am I going to teach this? Because I just need to follow a book, you know? Thank you for your hands. Then as I started gaining more experience, I started thinking like, okay, I'm getting the idea. I can give clear instructions, or I have a better sequence. And then like in some recent months, I've been like, I'm teaching the same thing. I'm doing the same thing. My students are getting bored again. So, I mean, we as teachers, we need to constantly update ourselves, you know? So our lesson planning doesn't become tedious, boring, routinary. Well, one of the things that I learned in my BA and CELTA course are frameworks, right? So quick quiz for all of you. What frameworks do you know? You can write them in the chat or open your microphone.
CFR, FR.
Okay, I don't know that one. Interesting. Somebody else?
Common European framework for what languages? Or
okay.
Framework. Well, yeah,
it's the one
European
of reference.
Of reference. Yeah, thank you.
It's the one where you measure like A1, A2. That one?
Yeah, that one.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm talking more about lesson planning though.
Okay.
Okay. TTT, ARC. Yeah. I don't know that one, Hisa. So, well, I'm going to focus on two ones that I feel most comfortable with, that I think are the ones you can really adapt and change and personalize into your own teaching. So the first one is when we're teaching language, you know, the framework, presentation, practice, and production. So language refers to both grammar or vocabulary. You know, sometimes we teach either, sometimes we teach another one, sometimes we mix, I don't know. So this is the framework, presentation, practice, production, PPP. And the other one is when we teach skills, 3 Ps or 3 Ps. Oh, interesting. I always had it called PPP. Thank you. And the other one is when we work with skills, okay? Skills, listening, reading, writing, speaking. We have the framework of pre, while, and post. Okay, so basically this talk, I'm going to be giving you some ideas to teach each of these stages, some things I like to do with what topics, and yes. So first, we have the presentation stage, right? When we're teaching vocabulary, this is basically where you take out your flashcards and teach the vocabulary to the students. So some ideas that I can give you is, instead of translating, instead of comparing the English to their L1 to their native language, you can ask them to create a definition. Or sometimes the vocabulary is introduced in a text, okay? So have the students look at the words, have the definition on the board, and match the vocabulary in the text. They're seeing it in context, so they most likely can guess the definition, right? So I really encourage you to do this. It really makes the students think about the word and not directly translating, but just defining it in English.
Okay, can you repeat how to do that?
Okay, of course. As I said, sometimes some expressions or some vocabulary are presented in a text. Yes, you can have them in the text already underlined, or have the students underline those words. And then on the board, you can either write down the definition or have it on a slide you already prepared. So if the students are looking at the word in context, they can most likely match the definition that is on the board. So have, I don't know, 5 definitions for 5 words and have them match. Okay, I'm gonna open the chat real quick. Yes, through context, very good. So again, they're not translating directly, but they are rather deducing from the context. Another one, when we're teaching vocabulary, is you need to teach pronunciation. The typical listen and repeat, either to you or to the audio. So drilling can also become something fun. You imagine you're teaching, I don't know, food to your students and tell them, okay, repeat, chocolate, chocolate. Okay, now angry, add emotion, chocolate. So they have a lot of fun adding emotions or drilling some word in a different way. So very happy, chocolate, sad, oh, chocolate. So they're still drilling, they're still practicing pronunciation, but they're giving a different emotion to it, and they're having fun just laughing at themselves or at each other, right? And one final activity to teach a vocabulary is a flashcard gallery. So instead of just having the flashcard and showing it to the students, if you have a small group, you can paste the flashcards that you're going to use around the classroom and have them take a quick gallery walk. You know, follow me, guys. Today, look at this word. I don't know, park. Repeat, park. And you have them all around you. They stand up, they move, you present vocabulary, just moving them a little, changing the activity. It's more interesting for them. Okay, any questions up till here?
Yeah, the flashcard gallery. How can we do it? Like with a PowerPoint or what?
Oh, okay, well, if you're in a physical classroom, well, this one is, yeah, thought for physical. You paste the flashcards around the class, right? And if you have a small group of students, you can have them follow you and present and then repeat. If you have a large group, you can just have them walk around and you stand next to a flashcard every now and then in order for the students to ask questions if they have some. So normally flashcards are pretty self-explanatory, but instead of having the students just sit down and show, they can walk and actually look at them.
Okay, and for online?
For online, I didn't really think about it.
Okay, we have to. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye. Yes, somebody else?
You can use a presentation, PowerPoint, Prezi, or if you have the flashcard, you can just show it on the camera. Could be useful.
Yeah, that too. Okay, well, continuing. Now we're not presenting vocabulary, we're presenting grammar. Yes? And the first rule of presenting grammar is that you do not explicitly tell the students all the structure, the rules, and everything. First of all, they're gonna be like, what is he talking about? I don't understand. Or, this is boring. We're looking at the simple present again. So elicit from the students. Instead of that, have a sentence, an example, you know? Wait, give me a second. I walked in the park. Okay, everyone, so we have this word. What is I? It's the subject.
Pronoun.
Subject pronoun. Thank you, very good, yes. What about this? What is this?
It's a verb.
Thank you. Is the verb in present or past?
The action in the past.
Very good, the verb is in the past. And what about the rest of the sentence? What do we call it?
Complement.
Excellent, complement. So in this case, I asked the students, I engaged them. They actually had to think and they had to analyze the language. That is what we use eliciting for, right? So yes, once they're used to eliciting and they analyze the grammar themselves, we can continue and do a board run, right? So divide the board in two, have 3 sentences, affirmative, negative, and question, and tell the students, okay, here, you, Jose, and you, Pablo, have a marker, write down the formula that you think is on the board. The first person to get it correct gets a point for the game or for their team, okay? They're still analyzing, they're still doing most of the job, they still have to think. But in this case, it's a little faster. Or maybe if you already presented it once, then like you already gave the example altogether in the class, then they can do it on the board. And students have more participation in the class. Okay?
Great.
And yes?
Great.
Okay, thank you. And another one that when I learned this way of presenting, I was mind blown, right? Self-discovery activities. In this case, you're present, well, I'm going to give you an example right now. I was teaching gerunds and infinitives, right? And gerunds and infinitives are pretty complicated because you have a verb and another verb. So instead of giving the students a list and having them memorize and drill, I decided to do a Kahoot. Yes? And the self-discovery activity is basically an activity where you guide the students little by little, a lot of examples, into discovering the rule or the, how do you call it? Yeah, like the rule of the grammar or what you're trying to teach. They discover it through trial and error, through a lot of examples. Here's the Kahoot that I did. Yes, of course, the board run. Let me go back. Okay, so maybe after a month or about 2 weeks, it depends how often you have class with the students. They're used to analyzing. You already elicit, they know what a subject is, they know what a verb is, and they know how to identify the complement. So now imagine you're teaching simple present. So you do one example on the board where you ask them for the formula, like subject plus verb plus complement. Now, instead of you doing that again with the negative and the question, you divide the board into write one example on each side, 2 affirmatives, 2 negatives, and 2 questions. Line up the students into 2 teams, okay? And give each person a marker. Here, Jose, here, Pablo, take a marker. And the first person to write down the formula of the grammar correctly gets a point for their teams or for themselves. Okay? This can easily be adapted to online. Just share your whiteboard, allow the students to annotate, and well, they do their thing. Yes, questions?
I do something similar to this. This an activity which is called running dictation. Once I came to teaching vocabulary, I saw them flashcard or picture about something which I will start like kind of warming up. For example, if my lesson is about places, I show them a place or a city and ask them what places can you see in a city, and they divide them into 2 teams and ask them like each team consists of 2 persons or 2 students and exchange rules. And the most important or the winner who write many words related to the title. For example, write city, hospital, restaurant, etc. Yeah, I apply it. We can apply this in teaching grammar. Once I can ask them like to write regular verbs and irregular verbs.
Cool. Yeah.
And once I came to teach them about grammar, because I am English is their native language, so they like came fossilized or didn't differentiate between different sentences. In Arabic we have like present and past and future, but in English we have different kind of presents, so they like came confused and didn't know what is the difference. I show them like a timeline and tell them we are stand in the present, and if we follow and next week it is called the future. Last year which is happened, this is past, and then we can't recall it. This is what I do.
Timelines are very useful when you're teaching tenses, you know?
Yeah.
I really like to use them too. Thank you. Interesting. Okay. Well, any questions up till here? I forgot to tell you all at the beginning. If you need me to repeat, stop, pause, go a little slower, tell me. Sometimes I believe I'm Eminem and I just start talking very fast. So feel free.
Can I just ask something, please?
Go ahead.
Can we say that listening is somehow a part of self-discovery?
Listening as a part of self-discovery. It kind of is. It kind of is, yes. But in this case, we're doing it all together as a class. It's mainly teacher, well, it's not teacher-centered, but yes, the teacher is kind of more present than in self-discovery.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Well, going back, self-discovery. The thing that I used to teach gerunds and infinitives was a Kahoot, yes? So I gave them, I don't know, 2 examples of one sentence with a gerund and one sentence with an infinitive. And that was it. And I told my students, okay, we're gonna do a Kahoot about this. And they were like, whoa, teacher, we don't really understand what's going on. You will, that's what the Kahoot is for. Okay, so you can see pretty basic question, which is a gerund, and I give them 2 examples, which is an infinitive. In this case, if you can see, I asked them, which is the correct one, okay? As you know, if we're teaching gerunds and infinitives, after certain verbs, they need to be followed with ing, or after certain verbs with the infinitive, to and the verb. So instead of giving them one example and having them look through their list, I gave them 3. Why? Because the same rule applies to the 3 sentences, but maybe they don't really know, they don't really catch admit. Well, they think that I enjoy walking, that sounds more familiar to them. And then they look on this side, I enjoy to walk, or I miss to walk. So they have 3 examples to compare one to the other. In this case, okay, so they have more context, more examples, and then they can choose the correct one. And even if they don't, they will have more practice, right? So the verbs in the last question, right? The verbs before were followed by, in this case, the correct option was this one. I enjoy walking with her, or I miss walking with her. So they were followed by gerunds. They are discovering the language, not by the teacher presenting it, but by actually choosing trial and error. So that's what self-discovery is basically. Okay. And in the textbook, they asked me to present gerunds and infinitives, but not only the verb followed by the object. They asked me to consider adjectives and to consider expressions, not only verbs. So in this case, I made my students answer the question and I asked them, okay, what is this? This is not a verb. Any ideas? What is this? Tired?
Adjective.
It's an adjective. Thank you. Very good. So after adjectives, we can use gerunds. Yes. I really like a could because it gives you time to make an explanation after the students may answer a question. Okay. And again, in this case, it was an adjective or it was an expression to be interested in. Okay. I presented them many examples. In this case, I gave them a more explicit question about grammar. Some words can be followed by gerunds and infinitives, true or false. In this case, it came out in Spanish because, I mean, that's the game. And now that they've analyzed, they've seen different examples. They've asked the teacher the questions they had to ask. I give them mixed exercises or just more examples. I made the students this question in the Kahoot and I got a lot of blues. So they're still practicing, learning, and they're having fun. Okay, so any questions up till here? Okay, thank you. In the chat. Thank you, thank you. If you have less time, and if you have maybe not that advanced students who are not used to analyzing that much, you can also do this either online or give them a handout, which is give them the examples and pretty clear question. How is the verb? Well, they have 3 that are regulars, but they have 1 irregular that they can base on to see that it's past participle. They create the formula and then they actually analyze the meaning because they have, again, many examples. In this case, I was talking about the future perfect, I think. So yes, you have less time. It's a little more individual, but still the students have to analyze the language themselves. And this is just for the presenting part. Now let's go on to the practice of the grammar or the vocabulary. So one of my favorite activities to do when I'm teaching verb to be is ball toss. This is more thought for the physical classroom. So I have a ball or something soft the students cannot hurt themselves with. And if it's their first day in English class, I'm teaching verb to be. I already told them, elicited, blah, blah, blah. Now it's time for practice. Okay, you, Ricardo, ready? I will say a subject and you will think of the verb. But this hand represents is. This hand represents are. And if you catch the ball like this, am. So I told him, I am. Okay, thank you. Throw it back. Throw it to another student. She is. Okay, they are. And in this case, it's a quick game. If they make a mistake, the game is continuing. They have another chance to practice. This is stuff for smaller classrooms. Again, for bigger classrooms, you can have, I don't know, maybe 4 balls and have them divide into groups. drill one time with the whole group and then have them do the same activity in their own little groups. They all say one subject pronoun to each other, and then the other one answers with the verb to be. Okay, another way to practice grammar or vocabulary is through songs. I mean, pretty simple. If you know the song, complete the gaps, or we can listen to it. And one fun activity that I use for teaching present perfect is this. I use the song "We Are the Champions" by Queen. And it has a lot of present perfect. So the students just see it's like a fill in the gap activity, but it's the actual song. It's the lyrics of the song. At the end of the class, of course, we sing it. They have fun because a lot of them don't know how to sing. So it's just a different way of looking into the grammar.
Yeah, can I interfere, please?
Go ahead.
I just would like to share something. Like when I was doing my master's degree, my theory was using songs in teaching grammar. So when I conducted my experiment, it turned out that this is the best way to teach grammar. So this is just to emphasize your idea.
Thank you. I didn't know that, but thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, another way they can practice is a scavenger hunt. When you are teaching prepositions of place under, I work in a small school. So what I do is, since my groups are like from 6 to 8 students, divide them in pairs, make 3 sets of clues, different clues, and have them look around. So they get a piece of paper and it says, okay, your next clue is under the teacher's chair. And they have to look for it. And then your next clue is on the window of classroom 4. So students have fun, they get excited, they take the clues from others. Sometimes it becomes messy, but most of the times they're just moving and looking, and they're like, under or behind, what was it? So it's good practice for them. If you have a larger classroom or a bigger school, you can have the students make the clues for each other if they're a little more advanced, or also you can give them a prize at the end, or just tell them, okay, whoever brings me all of their clues wins. The next one is a safari. You're teaching vocabulary, yes? You're teaching maybe home appliances, and the students are in their house. So you know how in safaris the people like are with their cameras and they take pictures? Well, you tell your students, okay, you're gonna go look for a microwave and send us a picture to the group, to classroom, to whatever, or share it here. Or share it through the chat. I don't know what platforms you use, right? But yes, they basically have to go and hunt for the object you asked them to. Another way to do that is, for example, ask them, okay, just show me a pen. And they show you a pen in the camera. This way you're checking if they actually understand the vocabulary or not. And of course, we have a memory game where there's a lot of memory cards online. Just match the picture to the word or 2 words. You can really expand this activity by having students make a sentence, by having students practice pronunciation and so forth. Yes, somebody open the microphone. No? Okay. And one way I really like to, well, maybe you kept it classic. You know, here's the grammar, here's a fill in the gaps exercise. But the way that your students report back to you the answers can also be kind of dynamic, right? So maybe you have your students choose between simple present and past participle in different sentences.
All right, teacher Alina, your microphone is on.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Thank you. So you had your students choose between 2 options. Now, okay, everybody, stand up. So this half of the class is simple present. This half of the class is past participle. So, okay, tell them. Number 1, what did you choose? They walk to either side, and then they read you the complete sentence or whatever question you want to ask them. You clarify doubts. In a online setting, you have these reaction things. So, hold on. Okay, thumbs up if you think it was simple present, or a laughing face if you think it was past participle. It's just quick, and then you ask one student to give you the complete sentence, the correct answer. And again, another practice that I really like is the information gap activities, where one student has an information that the other student doesn't have. So they have to make relevant questions in order to receive the answer they need, the information they need. Any questions up till here?
Not yet, but I will have to rewatch the recording. Too much information. It's cool.
Sorry. But I mean,
hi, hello. Can I
Hello.
say something very fast?
Go ahead.
Thank you. When you were presenting the walking through, I mean, the picture gallery, no, the students walking around the classroom. I raised my hand, but maybe you didn't see me. I wanted to share an idea. No, it's all right. No, it's all right. It's all right. I just noticed that people ask for permission orally. I have an idea to complement you with what you said about having the pictures around the classroom. I don't know if I can share my screen for just a second.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. All right. So maybe the people can use you can use a Jamboard, no, and have the pictures. Because somebody was asking how can we do this online, no? So maybe with a Jamboard, and I mean it's not difficult to do this because you just duplicate, no, and you can have the students in groups or along, matching the pictures with the text, no. I don't know. It's an idea that I wanted to share, no, about pictures. I hope it's okay.
Thank you. Yes, much more useful in the online setting. Thank you. Okay, well, let's continue. Now, the production stage. We already saw presenting, practicing, where we focus on accuracy. In the production, we focus more on students using all of the language they just learned. Okay, so one of my favorite ways to do it is making a presentation. They just do a presentation of the grammar they just learned, or maybe adapt it to themselves. Remember that in the production stage, students are supposed to personalize the information. So they think, oh, okay, I learned the simple past, actions that are finished. Cool. Now what do I do with it? So maybe in this stage, you ask the students, okay, now make me a presentation about the last vacations you just took. And then they get excited, they develop, and they use the grammar that they just saw. Okay. Also, something simple, you don't have that much time, you have a large group, you need, they cannot have that much preparation. So it's just simple questions. I got this handout from All Things Grammar. It's a website, very recommended. You probably used it. But basically, I was teaching participle adjectives and have the students sit in pairs and make each other the questions they see in whatever order. Encourage them to ask further questions in order to develop a conversation. And oh, what do you find? You see that two students who got in pairs are discussing their favorite show because they actually had the same one and they found that out thanks to question 1. Okay, sometimes we don't need something that fancy. It can just be make each other questions. And of course, we have role play. Okay, so now you're going to present about, I don't know, going to a bakery. Imagine you're going to the store. One is the seller, one is the buyer. And one that I just recently did with my students was memes. Okay, in case you don't know what memes are, they're a picture with a funny phrase. So I was practicing WH questions and I just sent them this picture. And I told them, okay, create a meme with it. And here, well, I sent them several pictures. And here are some of the results.
Kiwi. Good ones, good ones.
They were very good. So students, they really got creative. I mean, of course, they love memes. They were teenagers. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. They used what they had just learned. Maybe they didn't exactly use WH question, but they used English and they made a joke in English. So yeah, that's for the production stage. Yeah, just look, there's some Pinterest memes template, send it to them and they report back. They get pretty creative, as you can see. So now we're just gonna, I just browsed through teaching vocabulary and grammar very quick. Now let's focus on skills. I'm gonna go even faster with this one because yeah, I don't have that much time. So in the skills, we use another framework, which is called pre, while, and post. In the pre, you're supposed to set the context of what you're going to teach. You can do this by making questions, having students brainstorm, group discussion, picture associations, show them four pictures. What do you think the text is going to be about? What do you think the listening will be about? But in this case, it's also very important that if you know that your students will not know the word of a text, pre-teach it. So they, at the middle of the text, they don't focus on the word they don't know, but in the actual information that they're supposed to be reading, the ideas that they're supposed to be reading. In the while, I mean, we have two stages of the while part, which is first reading or listening for gist. If they're maybe listening for gist or reading for gist, I will tell them, okay, she's talking about this or she's talking about this. Again, divide the class into sides, read the audio, read the audio, listen to the audio real quick and walk to the side of the classroom you think she's talking about. Like, which option do you choose? Okay, have them do a quick discussion or choose the correct picture of what the text is about. Remember that gist is something real quick, just for students to get familiar with the audio and the topic it's going to be talking about. Or have two questions on the board and just have them run and write the answer, yes? Now, in the detail is where I want to make more emphasis on. First, in the reading, when your students are doing a reading about any text, one of the activities I like to use is that they read the text and make their own questions, make their own true and false. Now, okay, pretty simple. Yeah, they do it and so on. But now have them play hot seat. Okay. And in hot seat, you sit one student in the front of the classroom, or you just tell them, okay, you're going to be asked questions. The students have their questions that they previously did, and they ask the students the questions about the text. And the student has to remember the text that they just read and also answer all the questions. How do I do this? I tell them, you have 2 minutes. If you answer a question correctly, you get 1 point. Let's see who gets more points. And yes, they ask each other the questions, and you can really see some students like trying to remember or coming up with very creative questions. Okay. Another one is, again, if they're reporting back on their answers for corners, if it was multiple options, that corner is A, this one is B, this one is C, and this one is D. Just stand in the one you think is correct of the rating. Listening, well, while they're listening, they can just like, okay, raise your hand when you hear that he's giving advice. And they're listening and they're also like this, you know? Or you can use a Google Forms or a handout. It depends how technologically available your classroom is. And also something that I like is if they're listening to a story, have the story or some key sentences in the printed out, and then they organize the sequence in a piece of paper. Or again, if you're virtually, you can do they can organize it on a Jamboard or in a PowerPoint presentation. Just give them access to edit it. And one speaking activity that is, well, I learned this in my BA. It was a very interesting activity, is have the students record an audio and then write everything that they said, exactly, the ums, the pauses, everything. And then now that they see written what they said, they can identify way more mistakes than if they just heard and reheard the audio. Okay, they correct themselves. If they are a united classroom, they can have another student correct it, and then they record the audio again, not reading not reading their corrections, but actually trying to say it again without that many mistakes. Okay, this really makes the students identify what parts they need to work on. If it's pronunciation, if it's structure, if it's vocabulary, if it's just pausing because they're thinking in their native language and they're translating a lot. So that's one very useful activity. And production, well, reading, and again, in the production, it's freer language. They're supposed to use all the language that they know and personalize the topic. So make their own text similar to the one, or if you're teaching, if in the reading you show them a recipe, now they create their own tutorial. They have the expressions to show a sequence. Have some girls like do a makeup tutorial, others do a science experiment, others do cooking. It's group projects. It could be for homework, but they actually personalize and do something they like. Create a different ending to the story, or they become the character, and if they have the level, they can act, or if they're good actors, they can be that character, but the character of a pirate going to the supermarket. Okay, how would that be? And listening, after listening, it's always a debate. Well, not always a debate, but you can use a debate to talk about if they agree or not on the topic. Create a response to the argument the person was making. For example, you show them a TED Talk and they create a response like, I agree, I don't agree because of this, this, and this. It could be a text, it could be speaking. I also like to use a spectrum where I tell my students, okay, half of the class, well, that wall represents completely agree, somewhat, kind of agree, and disagree completely, and kind of disagree. So they just have to stand on the line that is their opinion. And I make a statement and they stand where if they agree or not. Okay, and speaking, well, going back, if you use the activity where they record and then write, you can have them write a reflection on their experience or talk about it with the classmate, not about what they said, but what they learned about themselves.
Excuse me, ma'am, can I ask a doubt, ma'am?
Repeat.
Ma'am, in reading, what do you mean create a tutorial? I don't understand create a tutorial, ma'am. Can you please explain, please?
Yes, of course. Okay, I'll make more emphasis on create tutorial and spectrum. So again, maybe your reading, your text was a recipe and students had to find, I don't know, the ingredients or something, but they saw a recipe, right? So now they have expressions to say, okay, now you're going to do this. Then you're going to this next, like transition words. So with this vocabulary and this already structure that they read about, now they can create their own tutorial or their own recipe to follow. As I said, some girls like to do their makeup. So they say, okay, first you're going to do your eyebrows and then do your lipstick. Next, put on something. Some boys like to talk about video games. So explain how to pass a video game, how to complete it. And some students like to cook, make them create a tutorial about cooking. Like this could be basically for homework or if you want to assign as a group project. But in this case, students talk about something that they like. Oh,
So kind of you, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome. And spectrum. Okay, let me show you. I got this idea from a channel, a YouTube channel called Jubilee. So basically this is your classroom, right? And it's divided in squares and you tell your students. It's called Jubilee. Let me write it on the chat. They just talk about social problems. It's a lot of Americans, but it's pretty interesting. Sometimes they talk about social problems like Democrats versus Republicans or immigrants versus natives from a country. So on the spectrum part, you divide your class like this. And you tell them, okay, 5 is completely agree. 1 is disagree. Tell your students a statement about, it could be about the information they just listened to or they just saw in a video. And then, for example, I don't know, I think schools should have uniforms. And then they stand on whatever their opinion is. And of course, you ask questions. Why do you think that? Why are you in completely agree? And so forth. That is for the spectrum part. Okay. Any other question?
Like for 1, it is disagree, and for 5, it is completely agree. But what about 2, 3, and 4? Like those who fall in this, like you are saying that you have divided them to agree or disagree. If I'm getting it right.
Okay. Well, 2, 3, and 4, right? Some students are like completely in the middle, they don't have an opinion concretely defined. Or some students say, okay, I kind of agree. We have very complicated students.
They partially agree. They are partially agree.
Yeah, partially agree.
Yeah. Confused. Yeah.
I have a lot of teenage students. They don't have a lot of concrete opinions yet. So this gives them a spectrum to stand on instead of just being like, I don't know. So
thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Any other question? Well, that's it for my part. I'm sorry if I spoke too fast, but I had a lot of information to share. And that's it. Thank you for your attention.
Come on, people.
Very great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. What can I say? It blown my mind a bit. So I have to rewatch the recording and process everything you said because there are a lot of stuff. So
because
yeah,
there are lots of important and useful information.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I took notes, but I think I have to. No, I think no. It's for sure. I have to watch it again.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I really like these activities, and again, you can adapt it to your students' profile, basically their level, their behavior. We have some introverted classrooms, we have some extroverted ones. So yeah, that's what I was thinking of, this activity that you can adapt. So
yeah. Okay. I was wondering, would it be possible for you to share like screenshots or something of the list? Just in no, don't worry. I took notes. Don't worry.
No, I can. I have the PowerPoint, so yeah. So I'll send the link so you guys can see it through here.
Yeah, thank you. No, in the WhatsApp group, it's better.
In the WhatsApp, I'm not in the WhatsApp group actually. So
you are not?
No, teacher has sent me the link.
Ah, okay.
I'll send you her phone number so you can add that.
Yeah, thank you.
Please.
Okay, so it was a pleasure. We learned a lot. We need to process everything very well. And I know we have a lecture every month, but with that, I don't have time to apply all the useful tips I learned from you. From all of you, all these lectures from Aurora, who else? Alejandra, of course, Nicole Paese and others lecturers. I don't have enough time. So thank you very much to all of you. And I'm looking, or we are about to schedule the next,
Miss Alina,
sorry.
show your baby again.
But she's crying.
No problem. Nice, nice. Thank you.
It's because she's hungry. She already
Oh,
sat at the table and she's waiting for us. So,
sweetheart.
Alina, you're awesome. Thank you for sharing this
Thank-
space, even it's Sunday and you have a family to take care of. Thank you. We truly appreciate it.
what did you say?
That you are awesome.
And the second part?
That we truly appreciate all you do for the teachers around the world.
Okay.
Every Sunday you have a family to take care of. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's an honor to learn from you. So thank you, all of you. So who wants to be the next lecturer? Send me a WhatsApp and we can arrange it. Okay?
That's perfect, yeah.
Yes. Okay then, guys. I'll see you soon. See you in maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or a month. We don't know.
We hope
Let's
that.
make it 2.
Okay.
See you again, Mohammed. Nice
Thank
to
you,
see
Mai.
you, Alina.
Nice to see you again. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Nice
Bye.
to meet you. Bye-bye. Thank you, Alejandra. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.